Hi guys, welcome back. So today's video is all about the biggest bag trends happening for 2025 for both spring and hopefully beyond that as well. I feel like the new collections are coming in thick and fast and we're just seeing so many amazing new trends happening for the coming seasons. So I'm going to be rounding up my favorite ones in today's video. I hope you guys enjoy this and let's get started. So bag trend number one is slouchy bag styles, and I think this is probably the trend that I'm most excited about, particularly the first style that I'm going to mention, which is the Gucci horsebit slouchy shoulder bag. I kind of had a love-hate relationship with the horsebit line. I think some of the styles are absolutely gorgeous and so great, and other styles are maybe not so great. This one, as soon as I saw it, I just fell in love. I think it is so chic and elegant and exactly what Gucci really does well, in that it kind of has that 70s vibe, but it still feels very fresh and modern. But because it has the retro throwback vibe, it still feels quite classic. The only thing, I feel like it's too expensive, and I feel that way pretty much about a lot of the bags coming from the more traditional bag houses now. I just think a lot of them need a reality check, but I do think it looks really beautiful. You're getting a lot of leather for the money. I would always say that Gucci, more so than other brands, I feel like even though they price quite high, whenever I get a bag from them, I'm usually really thrilled with the quality and the craftsmanship and the detail. Like, they really do seem to put the extra effort in. And I just think the style is so fantastic. It comes in a whole bunch of colours. It really plays into that slouchy trend. And this is absolutely one that's on my wish list. I think it's so great and absolutely on trend for the coming year. Also playing into that trend is the Demier Miami. And I feel like this bag is going to be maybe a little bit controversial, because I think of Demier usually as doing totally original designs, which is why I love so many of their bags. I think they are so unique and different looking and look very luxurious and high end, but without that crazy, thousands and thousands of pounds price tag. This to me just seems like a rip-off of the Loewe squeeze bag. Like, I will put a side by side up, but these are very, very similar bags. And for me, I'm just like, why would you do that? It just feels like you don't need to be in like the knockoff game. And I know it's not a knockoff, but this is heavily inspired by. So yeah, clearly a trend though, and really playing into that slouchiness. So, whether you want to go for the original Loewe squeeze or you're really liking the Miami, they have very, very similar aesthetics, really going for that larger tote bag style, having that kind of drawstring effect, which is, just very distinctive to the Loewe squeeze, and having that lovely slouchiness all the way through as well. So definitely a big trend. I love a good slouchy leather. I think when done well, it can still look very, very luxurious. And you also tend to get the benefit of much more capacity, so it's actually more functional as well. So I am all for this trend. Jury's out on the Miami. I do feel like it's a bit too close to the squeeze, but it's definitely a unique bag style and really playing in again to that really slouchy trend. Next up are Raffia bag styles, and I feel like this is one trend that we see so often appear year after year on trends lists that actually I don't even think it can be called a trend anymore. I think it's just a classic bag style, and even though there is a strong element of seasonality, because obviously not many people are wearing Raffia bag styles in the dead of winter, as long as you live in a climate where you do see a good few months of nicer weather and sunshine, you can really get your money's worth. And as an added bonus as well, they do tend to be lower priced, just because the base cost of materials is that much lower than a full leather style. So you can definitely indulge this trend without completely breaking the bank. There are just so many different price points, everything from the high street right through to higher end, and even the higher end ones are cheaper than your usual leather styles. So my picks in this category are actually styles that I've already owned for at least a year or two, sometimes way more, and I think it just goes to show that a lot of the styles in this category are quite classic and we do see come back year after year. So here I have my Santorini tote. This is probably my newest Raffia style. I think it's a really lovely mid-range option. It comes in a whole bunch of different trim types as well. I went for the white for maximum versatility, but there's also brown, I think there's a black, and it's just a really, really lovely tote. It feels very luxurious because you do get a lot of leather trim, but at the same time I don't feel like it's so fancy that you're going to be fearful of using it. It's very, very spacious as well, and I just think it's a really, really lovely mid-range option. I do also have my Loewe basket bag here as well, and this one has been a little bit mistreated. You may be able to see it's a bit deformed on one side, but I loaded this bag so full, and lesson learned, if you are going to indulge in one of these bags, you have to make sure that you're not putting a laptop and a tablet and all the other things inside, because they're not necessarily built to withstand very heavy loads, but nevertheless, I don't really regret the purchase. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Again, I do think it's quite a classic style. This one has been around for quite a few years now, and in terms of luxury bags, it's not so crazily priced, and I do really enjoy mine. But of course, Raffia bags come in all shapes and sizes, so I do have my adorable little Loewe one here as well. This one comes with a little crossbody too, so you can wear it fully crossbody, you can wear it on the shoulder, but you can also wear it as a handheld style. I think this is such a nice way of indulging the trend without having a full-on huge basket tote if that isn't really your style. I do also have a new clutch coming as well, so I ordered this from my Teresa. It's the new Givenchy clutch, which I thought was so gorgeous. I don't know if you'll be able to see there, but I have my Fendi Raffia clutch, which I bought a few years ago and has been such a great buy, and it's such a nice way of incorporating the Raffia trend without going for something so oversized, especially if you're going on a holiday. You know, a basket tote is great, but I don't always tend to go for something like that just because I like to carry something a bit more functional on the plane. I don't always want to pack multiple tote bags, whereas something like that is so perfect because you are indulging in that really seasonal Raffia look, but it's super portable, very practical, and it's perfect for little evenings out. So when that arrives, I will make sure to share that, but I think that's such a nice way of indulging and embracing the trend. Little clutches get so much use for me during summer anyway, and I absolutely love this one. If you're looking for a slightly cheaper way to indulge this trend though, then I would definitely recommend looking at Sézane, because they have so many beautiful basket bags. Everything from very plain classic ones right through to little embroidered details. They have different sizes, like so many different options, and it's just such an adorable bag style and priced much more reasonably than some of your more higher end options. If however budget is absolutely no option, then my absolute favourite new season style is the Saint Laurent basket tote, which I just think is so gorgeous. It really reminds me of a classic tote that you might get at a French market, but with that classic Saint Laurent spin. And I think it's stunning. It is definitely not cheap, especially for a basket style. I do think it's so gorgeous, and definitely a lovely one if money is no object. I did also want to let you guys know that my Teresa are running their new customer offer again, so you can get 10% off your order. There is a whole landing page where you can see everything included, but it covers a huge array of items. I do have a blog post with all of my picks if you wanted to check that out, but definitely a good one if you're new to my Teresa. There are some amazing items included. The next trend are belt-like details, and this is probably the freshest looking trend I've seen in a while. I feel like when you've done a few years of these videos like I have, you definitely begin to see patterns, but this one just feels a lot more unique and original to me than so many of the other trends we've seen recently. And this is basically any kind of bag, whether that's a large shoulder bag or a tote bag or even a smaller bag, but the buckle and the accent detailing actually resembles a belt. And this is a surprisingly common feature that we're seeing in the new season arrivals now. So everything from the new Hudson bag from De Melier, which is a really kind of large oversized tote that has that really great kind of buckle detail, very similar to Hermès. So I do feel like they are taking a lot of inspiration from super high-end luxury brands at this point. They are definitely not the only ones. I feel like Bottega Veneta are absolutely killing it at the moment, and I actually did a poll over on my Instagram asking what new season bags were on your wish list, and by far the most common one, apart from the Chanel Classic Flat, which always makes the list, was the Andiamo, if that's how you pronounce it, from Bottega Veneta. I was so shocked by how many times people mentioned this bag, and again, it really does have that belted detailing just to make it a little bit unique. It's more of a braided one with Bottega, but it's a really lovely detail, and against their beautiful leather weave, I think it just works so nicely. Two other brands who are embracing this trend are Miu Miu and Totem. So Miu Miu have their new adventure bag, which is a little bit shorter, kind of has 90s vibes in terms of the actual silhouette, but they're really making it feel a little bit more modern with that belt detailing, which I think just makes it look so great. This one comes in a whole bunch of different colors and texture options as well, and I think it's just absolutely adorable. And then Totem as well, so they've gone for a slightly larger bag, but again incorporating that great belt detailing. I think it's such a nice addition to any bag style where, you know, the actual bag itself is quite a classic silhouette, but it just feels a little bit more modern with the addition of that detailing, and I think this is just such a fun trend to play around with. The next trend that I think we're going to be seeing so much of are east-west bags, and I think out of all the trends I'm covering in today's video, this one is probably my least favorite, just because I don't know, it's a bit long, it looks out of proportion, and for me exaggerated shapes don't tend to be as classic as more normal proportions and shapes in my experience. So this is probably one that I personally would approach with hesitancy, but there are some brands still doing it really well. So similar to the last category, Bottega Veneta are nailing it once again, and I think this is a really beautiful design. It's their Andiamo clutch and it's just absolutely gorgeous, like true to form with the Bottega Veneta. It looks very luxurious. It's also priced very luxuriously as well. So you're definitely having to put up a pretty penny to get this look, but I think they've done it really well and probably the best of all the brands I've seen do the East-West trend. Yes, it is a very long silhouette, but I don't feel like it looks too crazy and it still feels and looks quite classic in nature. And then two other brands who are doing this trend are Alaïa and Proenza Schouler, and I would say that both of these styles are a little bit too exaggerated for my taste. I read that one of them, and I think it was Alaïa, was actually inspired by a sausage dog, which sausage dogs are very, very cute, but not necessarily something I'd want as inspiration for my handbags, but each their own. If you love them, then you may also love this trend. But these are very long and slim with quite a kind of steep drop shoulder bag, and they're just kind of funky looking. So I'm not sure this is going to be a trend that I'm going to be embracing that much, but it's definitely unique. I haven't seen too many things similar to it in recent years, but definitely a little bit more out there. And then last but not least, the biggest trend that I think we're going to see a ton of this year is actually a colour, and it is sage green. And this is one I myself have bought into, and it's not necessarily one that I would have thought I'd buy into, but actually the green shades coming out are the prettiest thing, especially for spring. And you know, we always tend to see a lot of the same colours for spring, baby pinks and blues and purples, but this just feels like such a breath of fresh air. And I don't even know how this lines up in terms of all the designers doing the same thing, but so many brands are doing bags in sage green, like it's absolutely crazy. So the Row have released a really beautiful sage green bag. I think they actually call it blue, but to me this is definitely a green. Really, really cute, very elegant and simple as you'd expect from the Row, but really embracing that sage green trend. APC have also done their Grace bag in a beautiful green colour, and I feel like APC are just going from strength to strength. I'm seeing their Grace bag more and more, and I think it's such a lovely alternative to some more boxy styles. You know, Hermes does their Constance bag, you have Celine with their Triomphe, and this really does have very similar vibes. I feel like it still looks very distinctive, very classic and chic and French, but obviously at a much lower price point. Comes in a whole bunch of different colours, including a lovely green shade for spring. And then Chloe are also doing a whole bunch of their styles in the sage green. So they have their bracelet bag in the sage green, their new tote bag as well, they're doing in a green, as well as their mini Marcy, which is the one that I bought into. I just thought it was such a lovely shade, and I already know I love the style. You know, the mini Marcy I do think is a bit of a classic at this point. It's a very simple, lovely French satchel style, and I just think it's great. And I think the newer ones in particular are lovely as well, because you don't have any of the creasing on the base, so they feel a lot more structured and robust. And I just couldn't resist this colour. I think sage green bags in general are such a lovely one, completely different from all the other usual colours that you get, and it really does feel like a breath of fresh air for 2025. So that wraps up this video, you guys. Let me know if you love or hate these trends in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.